Life Fight with Jermaine Andre is a positive production of RareGem Productions. For previous episodes or to get new episode updates, subscribe to the Life Fight channel hosted on the Inspiration Network of OneRareGem.com. That's OneRaregem.com for the tools you need to take on your life fight. With U.S. Martial Arts Hall of Famer, two-time world champion, five-time U.S. champion, UFC vet, life coach, and author, Jermaine Andre. Visit JermaineAndre.com.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Life Fight. Jermaine Andre here. Co-host Rebecca Beck with me.
Hello, everyone.
And we're going to continue from the last talk that I gave about building Jermaine Andre. You know, just to give you an idea of what it took to create who I am and who I was to make it through what I made it through. And hopefully give you an idea to help you build when you're building yourself. But before we go into that, I want to cover something from my Facebook. And I actually, usually what I'll do is I'll make, weird posts. I ask weird questions. I might post something sensible. I might post something stupid and funny, and if I receive over 50 likes or 50 responses, then I'll talk about it on the Facebook page, especially if it's a would you rather question or, something like that. So I asked on my Facebook page, if you were attacked by a rabid pit bull, would you prefer a knife or a baseball bat? Mm-hmm. And we got loaded up, man.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, we got loaded up. Now, this is the weird thing is, before I even get into my answer and tell you which one I would pick, was that I had somebody came on and they made a joke. They said, why has it got to be a pit bull? And they were saying it because they own a pit bull. And they said they're good dogs. And I was just kind of like, first of all, we all know, that the pit bull is the one that if you're going to say a mean dog, that's the name you're going to use because of all the pit bull attacks they had back in I think it was the 90s when pit bulls just get, out there because everybody's fighting pit bulls and doing this. And that's how the pit bull was promoted. So I wasn't making an attack on that type of dog and saying this is a rabid animal. I was just trying to give you a mean dog that everybody could think of. Right. So it could be a Dalmatian. It could be a, whatever you want it to be. Right. So he said it as a joke. But there's some people, of course, you get some people who get a little sensitive and they came on. But one of the things that happened was actually somebody went on and said that they wouldn't kill an animal, even if it was trying to kill them. Mm-hmm. And I thought what was really, what's the word I'm looking for? What was really kind of ironic is there was a guy on there who had responded. And he didn't like that answer of someone saying that they're so, animal loving that if an animal's trying to rip their throat out, they wouldn't do anything. Mm-hmm. So they got into an argument, a back and forth. And what was so funny is the guy who was arguing, his picture, and it's always been like this, is a picture of him and his dog. Yeah. So because the first thing that somebody said they went on when people were talking about, I'd use this, I'd use that. And when they brought up the guy brought up the pit bull thing as a joke. He was having fun. Oh, why's it got to be a pit bull? Mm-hmm. Why can't it be a poodle or something? And then somebody took that and they ran with it and said, oh, that's just animal haters that would do this and that. They tried to turn it negative. Right. Well, so it's funny because they couldn't use that on this guy because on his profile is a picture of him and he's sitting behind his dog. Right. His dog's in front of him. Yeah. And he's saying, are you out of your mind? If a rabid pit bull is trying to rip your throat out, you telling me you wouldn't do something? He said, what if it's trying to kill your 3-year-old kid, Mm-hmm. And so there's arguments going on, which the person kept expressing that they still wouldn't, they'd rather die than hurt an animal. Yeah. Which I had to go and intervene and let everybody know, look, I said, number one, the two hardest things for human beings the number one hardest thing for human beings is communication. We have a hard time communicating with each other, and there's two hard things about it. Number one, having the guts to express yourself and then express what you think or believe. And then two, having the compassion to listen to somebody and let them have their opinion if you disagree with them. Right. Because there was some name calling going on. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to kind of calm that down because you don't want name calling. People don't need to call each other's name, even if somebody's BSing on Facebook. Because a lot of people BS on. That's what Facebook is for. Facebook is a gossiping area to go on and just talk crap and be stupid, whatever you want to do. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes you get, excuse my language, idiots like me who want to go on there and say something serious, and I'll put serious stuff up, trying to get a serious, and everybody clowns. I'm like, I'm trying to be serious on here, man. Would y'all stop? So I'm like, forget it. But that's what Facebook is about. It's about expressing yourself, whatever it is, know. So anyway, having said all of that, when I posted it, and the reason I like putting stuff on there is because I learn stuff all the time too. Oh yeah. Because the first thing I did, I said, if I was attacked by a pit bull, I want a knife. Okay, because a baseball bat, and one person put a post on, he said he saw a pit bull get hit by a truck by I think a garbage truck or something, and the truck knocked the pit bull about 30 feet across the street. The truck hit him at 40 miles an hour. And the pit bull got up and ran off like nothing happened. Wow. You know what I'm saying? So a baseball bat ain't going to do much to something that can take a hit from a truck.
Yeah.
You know, and their skulls are just so thick and so hard. And when they get motivated, and if he's rabid, he's out of his mind anyway. You know, so I said, well, I'm going to take the knife. I'd rather take the bite on the arm, which he's going to destroy that arm and crush that bone, but they can fix it later. And while he's focusing on that arm, you could use that knife and go for the, through the breastbone, try and get his heart, try and get his throat or something, and hopefully he'll bleed out, and that'll shut him down.
Yeah.
Because any kind of, especially a rabid animal, when they're attacking, they're going to lock in. They're not going to let go.
Yeah.
And one swing with that bat, if you miss or hit him and it don't do the job, that second attack, you over here, like Babe Ruth, look like, strike. You know what I'm saying? And it's over for you. So that's what I would have picked. Now, when I'm thinking this, a young kid went on there. Actually, I think he was 12 years old. And he said the bat. He said the reason why, because, rabies is like 100%, what's the word I'm looking for? You can catch it. Help me with the word. What's the word? Contagious.
Oh, contagious.
There we go. Contagious. And that Bill just threw a big word at us. That might have been it, but I'm not on there. So, but yeah, it's supposed to be 100%. So if you stab it with the knife, you've got rabies.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I was kind of
like,
oh, well, I didn't think about that. Even though that's a good point, I'd rather go get my shots, for having rabies than miss and have to battle that dog. But that still made things a little different from the answer that I originally would have gave.
Yeah.
But so everybody out there, for me, it would definitely be the knife that I would choose.
Yeah.
What would you choose? Would you choose a baseball bat?
No, I think I'd choose a knife too.
Okay.
I'm pretty wild with a baseball bat, so.
Well, you can catch real good. Anything I throw at you, catch like a dog catches out of the air with your hand. I'm like, how does he catch that? So you might be surprised with a baseball bat. Okay, so moving along on that one, let's get back into what it took to build Jermaine Andre. And I think we left off on martial art training. Now, there was two types of martial art training I did. And, there was one I did, of course, for competition because I was in the middle of my fight career. So I had to train mostly Muay Thai kickboxing, Judo, Russian Sambo, Jiu Jitsu, and wrestling for MMA fighting. Now, when I was fighting all different kinds of ways. I was fighting, Muay Thai. I was fighting kickboxing. I was fighting shoot boxing, which shoot boxing is Japanese Muay Thai with throws. I was fighting Chinese San Shao, which is Chinese, kickboxing with throws and takedowns. And I actually held titles in all of those areas. So things got a little confusing for me sometimes. Even when I had a fight when I fought Maurice Travis, and we were fighting for the title. We were in California, and the fight was going pretty good. He's really tough, really good, really tricky. And I got confused in the fight, and he threw a spinning backhand at me, which I was like, what are you trying? I mean, I seen it coming like a mile away. I smoked a cigarette, drank some coffee before it made it to me, and I ducked under, shot in, and picked him up, and boom, and slammed him. I got disqualified because I broke his collarbone, which was horrible. It was a horrible thing to do. But I was so confused going back and forth between fighting because, MMA was banned here, banned there. So we were always testing to see what we can make a career out of. So I'm doing MMA fighting here, and then they're like, well, Jermaine, here's this new thing called shoot boxing that's big in Japan. Or here's this new thing called San Shao that's big in China, and that you should do this. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. So it was always confusing. But my training was always between those different areas, for competition. But the main thing was for self-defense. Yeah. My training for self-defense differed. A lot of times I had to train with, eye flicks, eye gouges. And even Ron Smith would remind me, because we do all this Muay Thai with the boxing gloves on, and, all this other stuff. And he always say, hey, man, you working your kung fu, you working your self-defense stuff. And man, thanks for reminding me. And I go pop out, hit palm strikes, eye jabs, front snap, everything I teach to women. Yeah. That's what I went and worked, the stuff that's going to put you down quick. So self-defense, that's something that a lot of competitive fighters don't do. They don't train self-defense, because, slugging somebody out with your fists and your elbows and knees, that is going to be good. Like I could, use that to defend myself, if I'm feeling strong. But like I say, the thing you want when it comes to self-defense is supposed to be so a smaller, weaker person can defeat a bigger, stronger person. So I always want to make sure I'm loaded at the moment when I'm weak, I'm tired, I'm hurt. Like, let's say I get in a fight with 5 guys and I'm Muay Thai-ing everybody and shooting in, slamming people and slap a good arm, but do all this. And I'm dead tired. And then here come 2 more guys. You know, okay, now it's time to stick my finger in somebody. I kick him in the, in the groin instead of trying to, be Mr. MMA.
Now, did that ever confuse you? Were you ever in a fight where you felt that you wanted to throw a self-defense move like a high flick or a throw strike or anything?
No, I never. And the reason it didn't, that's a really good question. The reason it didn't is because I didn't train it that much. It wasn't done every day, so it wasn't really stored too deep in my subconscious.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think even when I got in situations, bodyguarding, bouncing, I still would use my MMA stuff, my Muay Thai kickboxing, but I never got to a point where I was exhausted, where I felt like, okay, I feel weaker than everybody. I'm losing. What do I need? And that's what that was there for.
Yeah.
Where, oh man, I'm afraid because I don't have what it takes to win. Okay, now I stick my finger in his eye, and that's how self-defense is supposed to be.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm just going to kick him in the groin. I'm gonna hit him in the throat with this web hand strike, and that should, I don't have to even hit him hard. So I was always, even in those situations, I was still roof, roof. I was the pit bull. Hey, come on, no cracks at pit bulls, guys. I was a German Shepherd, whatever it is. Where I still felt strong, and I was boom, and I was dropping everybody with no problem.
Well, that's good. That goes to show that when you were training self-defense, that you mentally were putting yourself in a totally different state. So that when you went to go train in a fight, you weren't even thinking about it. So that's a good separation that you had.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly.
Yep.
So my martial art training, competition, self-defense, that's the things that I did. Something else I did too was martial weapon training. Now, I trained with a knife because everybody carries a knife. Boy Scouts carry them. Everybody that works carries one. I think I got one in my pocket right now. And
So do I.
I trained to defend myself against a knife, and I trained to use it because, like I said, especially in the self-defense situation, if I have a weapon on me, I'd rather use that. If it's a life and death situation, not if I get into a fight with somebody at a bar, I'm not gonna pull a knife out and start cutting up people.
Yeah.
But just if it is a serious self-defense situation, I use nunchucks because nunchucks, for one, is fun. And it just gives you a good workout. Plus, nunchucks are very awkward, and so it still helped me to, I guess, to keep my attention correct, because it helped to build my peripheral vision. Because when you use nunchucks, you can't look at them. You can't try to swing them and watch where you're going with them and see. You just got to work them, and you got to feel them.
Yeah.
So what it did was taught me to kind of be calm and smooth, and it was also kind of a little ego builder, confidence builder, to help you to kind of build up.
Didn't you get in trouble when you were a kid for using nunchucks?
I didn't use nunchucks. Quit trying to bust me out for the listeners. I think they already know this. Yes, I got expelled from school for carrying nunchucks, but that was because I was going to have to. They do know this because I was probably looking forward to fighting, 2 different gangs on a bike ride to school. I had to pass through their territory.
Yeah.
So, but I was good with them back then too, so they would have been in for a surprise. And there actually is a time in my life I had to use nunchucks to defend, but that's in the book. So. But getting back to the training, one of the main weapons I trained with was a katana, the samurai sword. And I did. This is the weird part. I didn't train with a katana because I had plans on, what do you call it, Highlander? I don't know. You're not old enough to remember that. See, Bill over there not. He know Highlander was the movie. Oh, and they came out with that. I'll never forget. I seen that movie, and everybody who know what I'm talking about, listeners, the guys in business suits stepping out of Mercedes Benzes with samurai swords and battling in the parking. I was like, what is this? It's just battling with these swords. And, they were all immortal, and there could only be one. They had to fight each other, and the only way they can kill each other was to chop each other's heads off. So. But anyway, back to my training. I never had plans on breaking a samurai sword out on somebody in the middle of the street and having a samurai duel, because I don't think other people are carrying samurai swords. But I used it for my focus. Yeah. The way the code of Bushido, the way that the samurai sword is operated, the etiquette behind carrying it, the etiquette behind drawing, the etiquette behind cutting. Sometimes just trying to cut. If you got a samurai sword and you've never really worked with it, you haven't had training with it, just try to cut a straight line with the sword right in front of you. A straight line. That's like a signature of a good samurai. Back in the days when they would kill someone, it'd be a perfect line, and they could look at it and say, wow, this guy knows how to use a sword. And that's hard to do, to cut in just a simple. People pick a sword up, so you see do all this fancy stuff. And first of all, they're using dull weapons. I've never ever trained with a dull weapon. I've always trained with sharp ones, because I've always felt that it was a disrespect to the weapon to be fake with it. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to be doing things with just like my knife. My knife was never dull. It was always razor sharp. And I never wanted to get in a habit of disrespecting it where I felt it couldn't hurt me. So now I'm going to do all this super fancy stuff, flip the knife in the air, and then I get into a real situation. I can't do that crap with a real knife. Yeah. So I've trained myself in something, I'm stepping away from the true self-defense of it. And I can even remember one time, I told you I was at the school, and I was working with my big combat knife, and I hadn't worked with it in probably about a year. And I was getting busy. I was working, I was thinking I was Mr. Cool, and then I just heard something go, and I was like, what the heck was that? And I just seen all this blood go flying across the room. Looked at my hand, I almost cut my hand. I cut it wide open. I was like, whoa, what I'm saying? So you know what I did? I kept working with the knife. I said, okay, this is reality. Yeah. What if I would have got cut in a real fight? This is my opportunity to really train, and I put the knife in that bloody hand and worked it, and it was slippery and everything, and then of course I went and cleaned up afterwards. But that's how real I always try to keep it. So my samurai sword was real.
So that was from the beginning. You always practiced with a real one, or did you practice with a fake one in the beginning and then move to that?
No, I started with the real knife. When a real knife flew in my hand, it was a real one for the respect of that. Yeah. That this is real. If you're going to ever have to use a knife, it's going to have to be sharp. All that fancy stuff that people do with the fake knives, that's for entertainment. Yeah. And it's good entertainment. Don't get me wrong. And I can do that too. You give me a fake knife, I can really get down. You know what I'm saying? Because no threat of being cut. I'll throw it between my legs and everything. Just like with a sword, I'll twirl it around my neck, put the sword on my neck and spin it, do everything. So it's not a put down to people who use fake weapons. And even when I train you guys, I tell you, use the fake one to get used to it, but don't start getting so cocky doing fancy stuff with this that you can't do with the real one. You need to pick up your real knife every now and again and use it. Yeah. With the threat of thinking I can cut myself, and that's going to slow you down.
Well, they have to have that mindset. If you don't have that mindset, then it's almost pointless.
Right, then you're not being real. Yeah. And then when a situation comes where you got to really use a knife to defend yourself, you can't even go to that frame of mind. And that's the other thing too. Now, of course, if I train with somebody, I never use a sharp knife. Yeah. We'll use those fake rubber ones and put goggles on.
What do you mean train with somebody? Like someone's training with you, or you're like
if we're knife fighting.
Oh, if you're knife fighting,
or when I teach classes, never any live weapons on the floor. Yeah. That's super, super duper advanced. My advice is to you is don't use a real weapon. Yeah. Don't use a real knife. Don't use a real sword. Like I said, it's stupid stuff I've done to get to where I am. You know what I'm saying? But that's because I was willing to sacrifice certain things, like cutting my hand wide open and saying, oh, cool, now I can train while I'm bleeding. You know what I'm saying? So if you're not in that frame of mind, which I don't suggest, I'm not taking any, if you decide to do any, like I said, we need to make sure that we put at the beginning of every podcast, do not try this at home. Anything you try at home, you're at risk of your, we need to make sure that's there. Yeah, because I'm just telling you how I created myself. When you're looking to say, okay, how did this guy get to the point that he got to? Yeah. But back to the samurai sword, the katana, because, my katana is razor sharp. And one of the things is just the way you carry it, just like I train you. I tell you when you go get my katana, how many times I jump on you. And the first thing I say, carry it correctly, or it'll bite you. I say the weapon will turn on you. And I've had that even happen where I'm carrying that katana and I don't have my thumb on that tsuba like I'm supposed to, and it fall out. And when it falls out, what's your natural reaction?
To catch it.
Try and catch it. Yep, and I've done that. Reached out there and pulled my hand, because you catch that sword while it's falling with that weight, it's going to the bone. So simply that's the whole thing, and that's where it kept me in a serious samurai state of mind, that when I walked up to that katana and I had to just pick it up, I'm at threat. If I make a wrong move, my etiquette is off. If you can't just pick it up and just walk off with it carrying it by the case, it's going to fall out. You're going to try to catch it, and you're going to slice the hand open. So when I pick it up, it's already real. So I got to carry it correctly. Then I'm going down, and I go through my ceremony, everything, and I'm pulling out, cutting with it, trying to get it to make the right sounds, the focus. And that was one of the main things you could even see that I picked up, like in my fighting, is the stillness, of waiting, being patient, and then, making my movement. And you see that happen a lot in my fights, where somebody's doing something, looks like they beat me, and I'm just being patient, almost like a cobra. And then I strike, and it's like, and then fight's over, and everybody's like, what happened? Right. That's what that came from, for me. Since sometimes I sit with that sword, and I sit there you see me sitting for 20 minutes. Then I pull it, one cut, put that sword up, just like the movie. Sit back down, sit down for another 5 minutes, and just make that move. But it gave me that impeccable patience, where when I was getting, hitting the fight, getting tore up, getting thrown around. I was just like that.
Yeah.
Just waiting. And when I seen that moment where he hesitated or he took a deep breath because he was tired of attacking, then that's when I made my move,
Yeah,
So it's funny how, that type of thinking like that can carry over into the fight game.
Yeah.
Plus it reminded me of how can I put it? How mediocre, how childish, and this is almost insulting myself, how babyish, how soft MMA fighting was compared to what the samurais had to go through.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So how can I be afraid?
Mm-hmm.
Every time I held that sword, I thought about the fact that there's a real man in front of me and I got 1 out of 3 chances of living. Either I'm going to kill him, we're going to kill each other, or he's going to kill me. And that was your 3 options in a sword fight as a samurai. So I always try to keep my mind real like that. Like that's what I was dealing with. That was almost realer at that moment than the fight itself. So then when I got into a fight and we got padded gloves on, a referee there to stop it, there was no fear. You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah. So what about self-defense weapons? Did those the same thing? Did that differ than the weapons you use for training for your fights?
The self-defense weapon was a knife.
So what knife was always number one for
my
both
pocket
of them?
knife.
Oh,
and that's the thing too. You see a lot of martial artists. What kind of knives they train with? Fancy combat knives. You don't carry those.
Yeah.
And if you do, you'll go to jail. And I know I got popped with a knife, one of my combat knives before, and it would by a police officer, and it didn't go down very well. So you can't have it even in your vehicle. The knives that you see Rambo breaking out. You know what I'm saying? They fun to train with and good martial art combat knives, but it's not reality. So my knife was always the one that I carried in my pocket. So you see me moving it, and it wasn't a big giant knife or a half sword or something like that.
Yeah.
And what else I worked with too, surprised, was pepper spray. Pepper spray and my extended baton. I practice my extended baton a lot because what I like about the extended baton, when you deploy it, rack it, that's almost a mini shotgun. Because sometimes that's all you gotta do. Somebody mess with you like that, they go, whoa.
Yeah.
It's almost like you went with a shotgun, oh man, that's cool. Don't beat me up with that. So I loved, the extended baton. So I worked that a lot too. So, all right, getting past martial weapon training, my recovery. Recovery is one of the most important parts of training.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. How do you mean that?
What? It is because
I was just making sure you weren't saying you don't get enough recovery time.
No. I'm saying it's important. You've designed your whole school's programs around having
a recovery session.
Week, yeah.
Yep.
So I know it's very important.
Your muscles need time to heal. Your joints need time to reset.
Yeah.
Especially if you're in any kind of combat training. When I say combat, I'm talking football. I'm talking anything where you make contact. And then even if you're not in combat training, when you're running and jerking and pushing it, your joints are taking pressure. If you're a weightlifter, your joints are taking pressure. All this stuff is happening that's causing all these, these injuries, these small injuries. So you have to have recovery time. When I slept, I didn't deal with alarms.
Yeah.
I never used alarms. I slept until my body woke me up. That's really important to me. If an alarm wakes you up, that means your body will wake up when it's well rested. And that's something too. I'll tell you about sleep. Even though when I was fighting, I usually slept. It might have been 6 to 8 hours. Because of how hard I trained. Now I think I sleep.
That's good compared to now.
Now I think I sleep 1 to 2 hours a night. If I go to sleep, sometimes just laying there, brain just working. But actually probably about 3 hours. Well, we'll go to bed at 1. I'll be up at 3 or 4. And I know, and this show you how kind of like just confusing things can be, because I remember hearing about REMs, rapid eye movement. It's when you're supposed to be sleeping. They used to say you have to get into your 8th hour sleep before REM happens, and I'll fall asleep, for like a minute.
Yeah.
And I'll have had a dream. Oh man, I've conquered 4 worlds. I was, in Lord of the Rings. I was Iron Man. I was all this stuff in that 1 minute. And I'm rested. I wake up feeling like $1 billion. So I'm sitting there saying, you guys say it takes 8 hours to get to your REMs. I just got to my REMs in 1 minute.
Yeah.
It's times it'd be 30 seconds where I'll be sitting in a meeting, and we'll be talking, blah, blah, blah. And then, I'll just nod off and they'll be, Jermaine, I'll wake up and I've been dreaming, it seems like I've been gone for 3 days.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I just always like to point out weird stuff like that, because it's just like the thing, apple a day keeps the doctor away. And then as soon as they sold magazines saying the apples weren't good for you, 1 billion magazines got sold. But Apple was one of my main, items that I ate every day during my fight career and even now. And I can feel the difference when I don't eat an apple.
Yeah.
When I eat an apple every day, I just feel more
Cleaner.
alert. Yeah, I feel cleaner and more alert. When I don't eat an apple, I don't.
Yeah.
So letting everybody know that about, them saying that about REMs, that is not true. I can hit my REMs in 10 seconds.
Yeah.
It don't take me 8 hours. So.
Now, does recovery go for, I know you're talking more in terms because you were a competitive fighter. Do people who do really basic training, just cardio, basic weightlifting, do they still need recovery too?
Yes.
Okay.
Because even when we're talking sleep, one of the main things that need recovering, the most important is your mind.
Yeah.
You've got to step away because it's the thing. We as human beings, we are great natural slaves. As human beings, we'll get out there and push ourselves and push ourselves. We're not as good as a horse is. A horse will run itself to death. We get a little lazy, but we can get into that monotonous motion of just going and going. And that can happen with working out.
Yeah.
And you start getting addicted to it. I'm addicted to working out. Big time addicted. I have to use strict discipline to shut myself down to stop from working out. I'm so addicted to it that I'll work out in my that and the business will be going downhill. But I'm like, man, but I got a 4-pack. What happened to my 6-pack? You know what I'm saying? And I have to stop myself. Okay, Jermaine, you're going to have to, you're probably going to get a party ball down there for a little while to get the business straightened back out. And you have to accept that. So that can happen. But when you get addicted to it or when you push yourself too hard, you're stressing yourself. Because working out does cause stress as well as it releases it. You still got to balance things. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of just like I tell you, eating food. Food is a stress reliever unless you eat too much. You start eating too much, then it causes other stress on your body. So everything is still about balance. So you have to have recovery time off to release that stress from the mind of the working out. But having said that, if you're sitting there and you take time off, you're sitting like, man, this is horrible. I need to work out. I'm getting fat. Then it's going backwards. The result is not happening. But yeah, people who just are into everyday working out, basic stuff, they still need recovery time too. Because if you're working out like you should be, you always turn down muscle. And when you turn down muscle, it needs time to heal.
So I need a vacation.
No, it's not you. You're in a different type of training. So you don't get recovery. All right. Bathing, not only for the purpose of, hygiene, and not smelling up the class, but bathing, I always took baths in Epsom salt. It had to be, and this is something people don't know, hot baths do work at certain times. What you have to work out for is dehydration. Yeah. When you're dehydrated, you've been working out a lot. If your mouth is dry, that means you're dehydrated. If you're feeling sleepy, that can mean you're dehydrated. Check your skin if it's pale, stuff like that. You jump into a hot bath, you're sweating the whole time you're in there. You think, oh, I'm sitting in water, I'm good. So when you're dehydrated, it's got to be room temperature water where you're not sweating when you get in. But Epsom salt, I put that in. And then you know what I did? Once a week, I would dump out a whole full bottle of alcohol. Ooh. For staph control. Well, you don't feel it, for in the hot bath. Yeah. And then you get in, for staph control and, skin diseases, things like that, whatever you're picking up at the gym. So that was just something that I use also with my bath. Yeah. But no, I didn't drink a glass of wine in my bath either, Rebecca. That's what you were about to ask. So the next one was.
That's no fun.
Yeah, I know. Massages. And massages are really good. I got massaged like twice a week during my fight. It was very expensive. Yeah, it cost me a lot of money, but it helped a lot. It stopped injuries. It worked up, muscles that were tight. Because when you're training, your muscles tighten up, and if you're training like you're training hard, you're not going to stop just because your muscles start tightening up. You start to learn to accept pain, and when you're working out, you have adrenaline going, and when that adrenaline is going, it's a painkiller. So you don't even know you're hurting yourself. So a lot of times those muscles, when they start getting injured and they try to lock up to protect themselves, you'll work through it and you start pulling on them and stretching them so they keep getting more and more injured. And then what happens, they'll lock up tighter, to keep tightening up, trying to protect itself. And a masseur will push, or a massage therapist, let me change the word in there. A massage therapist will, push all that out, and they push all the lactic acid out the muscles and things like that. And this is something too. I mean, like I always let everybody know, like, I know I always talk about corruption and how it works. Whenever, anything in the world, whenever something shows value for money, your rats come in. Yeah. And they find ways to degrade the product, so they can make more money for themselves. give you, and then they market advertise. They figure we'll sell you on the idea and the thought instead on the quality. They get rid of the quality and so they can make more money for themselves. So I recently heard, in the fitness world that they're talking about lactic acid doesn't exist, or, I can't remember where I read it at, that it's not true. You just never know.
Yeah, but why? Doesn't make any sense.
I have no idea. All I'm saying is this. Whatever you want to call it, lactic acid, orange juice, lemon juice, whatever it is, there is something that develops in your muscles when you work out that a massage therapist pushes out. Yeah. So you need to go see a massage therapist, and they will push those lumps out. And I know how to give those massages. Yeah. I never got certified as a massage therapist, but I know what I'm finding. And those lumps that are in there, which used to be called lactic acid, now because of how many magazines are selling not to call it that, just like when they said an apple a day doesn't do anything for you, it's called something else, or it's saying that it makes no difference. But I know seeing a massage therapist made me feel a lot better. Me too. And I recognized the difference when I wasn't seeing one.
Mm-hmm. It's a mental stress release too. Sometimes it's about, not just about the body. It's about, stepping away, relaxing, and putting yourself in that situation where you can just, calm yourself, calm your body, and do something good for yourself.
Well, that's true. That goes back to the recovery, like we were saying about stress. Yeah. So massages, I definitely got them. Yeah. Okay. Something real important too is virus protection. This is something that people don't think about, and I'm really, really, I don't want to use the word, the A word on it, but I'm very, very strict when it comes to that, and it's worked my whole life since I've been like this. Like I said, 20 years and I haven't been sick. And I think I got a great immune system. Luckily, that don't mean it won't break down tomorrow. I never said I'm never going to get sick. I said 20 years I haven't been sick. Mm-hmm. I don't catch colds. I don't catch flus. I don't have to go to a doctor, nothing. So obviously what I'm doing works. Either that or I'm some kind of superhuman and they need to take some of my DNA and study it. You know what I'm saying? But one of the ways I protect myself was with handshakes. Yeah. All right. I always say with handshakes, and I think who was it? Who was the guy in with the two cops? Who's it? Will Smith and the comedian. Yeah, from back in the 90s.
Are you looking for a movie or?
Yeah, it's a movie.
Huh. No, I don't think
Bad
Will
Boys.
Smith.
Bad Boys.
Oh, Bad Boys.
Who's in Bad Boys with Will Smith?
Martin Lawrence.
Yeah. He made a movie. He was a FBI, really good movie, and they did a good part because he was hiding in the ventilation shaft, sneaking into the police department. And the captain of the police was sitting in his office, right? And the captain of the police was, he was acting weird. The captain of police went to the bathroom, and I guess Martin Lawrence, his trail or whatever, led him to there where he could see in the bathroom. And the captain of police put this cream on his hand and reached down in his groin, and he just rubbed. He had some bad itch or something. He just rubbed it. Yeah. And Martin Lawrence is looking, what the, And so then the captain comes out of the bathroom. And Martin Lawrence gets out of the ventilation system. He's in there. And some lady takes him to meet the captain. And, he's like, oh, this is captain. This is such and such. And the captain's like, glad to meet you. He puts his hand out. Martin's like, whoa, no. You know what I'm saying? He's like, hey. And he hits him on the elbow. And the captain's looking like, what's wrong with you? So it gave a good example of you never know where somebody's hand has been. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And we as human beings, we're all monkeys. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? When we get away from where we think ain't nobody looking, we scratching and picking and pulling. You know what I'm saying? So one thing I do is when I shake hands, that hand is contaminated to me. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, I don't touch my face. I don't touch my food. Even though I open a water bottle, I open usually left-handed. I shake with my right, and I touch anything food-wise with my left hand. And what I used to do, because when I fought, you always had a lot of PR work you had to do. Go out and meet people, and there was always food there. What kind of food? Finger food. Yeah. And I would watch people, they shake, hey, it's sweaty, everybody hands sweaty. People go, how many people, you go stand in the bathroom and watch how many people come out without washing their hands. You know what I'm saying? And so I'd be seeing they shake, they eat with their right hand, licking them fingers, eating wings. I'd be like, oh, you don't know what you just ate from him or her. So I had a thing, my code was I would shake with the right, eat with the left. So always, because the one thing I didn't want to do was be rude. Yeah. I run around. It's like, man, I don't want to be hand sanitizer. Every time I shake my hand, I got to run in the bathroom, wash my hands. And, that's going to be kind of whack. So how can I work this where I can be polite, but I'm protecting myself because I'm going to eat. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? I'm always going to eat. So, but that was something I developed, And another thing also was with washing my hands. I wash them all the time, any chance I can get, especially before I touch any food, anything like that. If the event ended, the first thing I did was went to the bathroom, washed my hands. And that's something, too, that you got to watch out for is door handles.
Yeah. I know. You wash your hands and then you have to use the door handle.
Oh, it drives me crazy. Please if you own any kind of restaurant, anything, make the doors push out when we leave. Don't put a pulling handle. And if it is a pulling handle, have a trash can right there.
Yeah.
Because what I do is I wash my hands and I take a paper towel.
Yeah.
And then I open the door. But
you
know what happens?
You have to touch the trash too. Usually, to put it. Yeah.
Sometimes the trash, you got a lid, you got to lift. Yeah. I'll be like, I'll take my foot and try to lift it and then throw it or something like that. But what's worse than that is the people that have the air dryers and no paper towels.
Yeah.
And then you like, and I just watched 3 guys come out of the stalls, back there in the back, and then open the door, then wash their hands. I'm like, man. But you know what I do? I got this trick where I use my thumb by the back. I do my thumb like that, stick it out, and I stick it in the door handle and pull with the back of my thumb to pull it. And then I take my foot and push it and stick my foot in because the thumb ain't strong enough to hold it too long. And then I'll put, that's how serious. Like I said, I didn't want to use an A word. I'm pretty strict. So that's another way, that I protected myself from virus. Another thing I was careful of was eating out. I didn't eat out. I always thought about this. Would I, if I was driving down the street and some dude, I picked him up, he got in the back seat. He said, hey man, you want me to come in your house, cook dinner for you? Would I let him? No. You know what I'm saying? He's a stranger. Everywhere you go, every restaurant, those are strangers cooking for you, and most of the places you go to, especially unless you're super rich, and you're dealing with, people who've been through culinary art school, it's usually some teenager, and usually it's a teenager managing the place. And so when people start getting colds and flus and things like that, people aren't really getting sent home. They just need that clock filled. You know what I'm saying? And the people who are cooking, this guy, I'm speaking from experience. I used to work at Kentucky Fried Chicken. I worked at Steak and Shake. Man, we weren't thinking about the training. We watched a video for an hour. You know what I was doing? I watched that video sleeping. You know what I'm saying? And then I'm back there cooking, and I learned how to do it just from making mistakes. So sanitization, things like that. I got a cold. Oh man, people back there sniffing. Or you remember the time? I think you remember we went to Bob Evans, and a lady came out, a waitress.
Oh boy!
And she had a big. I'm sorry, listeners, y'all gonna have to hear this. A big green snot by both nostrils hanging. She's like. Sir, how can I help you? I'm sorry, I've got a little cold. I was like, you cannot help me. You know what I'm saying? But that's what you're dealing with back there. You don't know who's cooking in that kitchen. You don't get to see the cooks. You don't get to see the kids. So someone's preparing your food who you don't know. Yeah. You don't know if they're washing their hands. I remember being at a nice restaurant, and I went in the bathroom, and the cook, somebody was in the toilet. 2 guys were in the toilet, and they came out, didn't wash their hands, ran straight out. And I seen they had on cook aprons. Straight to the man. I see those 2 did not wash their hands. Yeah. And he jumped on them, but how many times has he missed that? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So that's just something to think about. So I always said, I don't want to get sick before a competition, so I didn't eat out. Right. That was something I did to make sure it didn't happen. And last but not least was fun and entertainment. You had fun? Yes. Believe that, boy. Look, there's people out there who I've had to threaten to keep quiet. The fun I had. Look, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Don't forget that. No, I'm just kidding. But no, you're not. No. Anyway, I made sure I had fun. One of the things I did when I made sure I had fun is I created laws and I created rules for myself. Like, it's easy, especially with the type of entertainment I was into. The fight game was, back then, when I started, it was banned everywhere. And so some of the only places that would even do big, like, I remember, never forget, my promoter was like, hey, man, I want to take you over to meet one of our sponsors. And I'm like, okay, cool. It's in the middle of the day. I'm like, all right, cool. Let's go, check it out. I'm riding in the load with him. We roll up and I see this, Diamond Cabaret. What kind of place is this? Walk in, it's a strip club. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, what the, because that's not my speed. That's not what I was into. And I'm sitting there just like, well, what are we doing here? But that was the owner of that place was one of our sponsors. That was one of the guys who was paying so I could fight, because it was, back then it was banned everywhere and people weren't really into it. So that was the world that everything was working through. So being thrown into that type of environment with those people, I could have got caught up in anything. You know what I'm saying? Anything. I mean, so I always had laws for myself. Like I always even said, if I go out, it's going to be Saturday night only. I was not allowed to go out during the week. I was not allowed to go out on a Friday night. Right. I'd had to train on Saturday morning. And that's why I have Saturday morning training at the school.
Yeah.
Because that keeps you from going out every night of the week. Some people go out Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, even Sunday night, and then you're wrecked the rest of the week. And if you're trying to work out and train, you're not going to be able to recover. Your body's never going to recover. You're going to be getting injured all the time. You're going to be hurting yourself. You're never going to move forward. So I always made sure I had rules, I had laws, and even like with where I went, who I went with, the way things were set up, how late I could stay out. I had that stuff locked in, so I could have my fun. When it was fight time, there was no drinking, there was no going out, there was nothing like that. There was movies. I paid attention to every movie that was coming out. I said, okay, I get to go to movies and watch this movie, and I get to eat popcorn and one candy bar. No soda. And just water or juice or something like that.
Yeah.
So I did have fun. I
so
made
what's
sure
your
I enjoyed
excuse
myself.
now? You don't have fun anymore. You're not
I don't want to
fighting.
get fat because I will. I'll get fat. And then we'll be in jail doing a podcast from jail because I get in a lot of trouble. All right. That's one thing too I had to be careful of too is make sure I didn't get into fights.
Yeah, that's important.
You start getting out there and you start getting liquored up and you got the boys with you and you never know what you're going to run into.
Yeah.
So I had to be careful of even the places I chose to go to. I only went to you got certain clubs where you'll get looked at like an idiot if you get in a fight. Mm-hmm. There were certain clubs like that. Everybody was cool. Everybody was trying to be each other's friend. Then you got clubs where people looking for trouble.
Yeah.
I didn't go to the ones where people looking for trouble. I didn't go to the ones where the gangster rap concerts were happening and the hard heavy metal thrashing back. I didn't go there. Yeah. I went to the other clubs that were softer and easier going with easier going people.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
So having said all of that, that's just some ideas of what it took to build me. Of course, there's tons more, that I'm sure will surface as we keep going through everything that we go through. But I'm gonna give you 3 takeaways today that I'd like you to have, and one of them is from taking from everything that I'm educating you on about building myself. Here's something to remember about building yourself. Do nature first, science second. In everything you do, food, stuff like that. Always stay natural. Try that first. Even when it comes to healing, when it comes to pain and stuff like that. When you're in pain and you're hurting, make sure that you don't start taking, painkillers and drugs and all this stuff first. Try natural healing things. Try natural healing ideas first. Then if it's not working, then go to science second.
Yeah.
Another one, the second one would be pay attention to the response of your body to the programs and supplements that you're doing. Just because you saw something on a magazine and it's got this big old dude or this hot girl on it that you want to look like, don't start loading yourself up with it thinking it's going to convert you into that. Whatever you decide to take, whatever you decide to do, even workout programs, because even workout programs that could hurt you. Yeah. Pay attention to how your body's responding to it. Pay attention to what it's doing to you. It's just like I tell people all the time. People say, man, how can I get arms like you? It's like, you can't. My arms come from everything I did, and most of it was the martial art training. The fact that I had nunchucks full of lead when I was a little kid, swinging them every day, probably had something to do with the way my arms built. But me personally, one of my bodybuilding, people that I looked up to that I liked, one of my bodybuilding heroes was Lee Haney. And Lee Haney's chest was humongous. And I used to look at his chest. Ooh, I want Lee Haney's chest. And I work out. But I don't have a chest like that. Mm-hmm. But I didn't get on steroids and stuff like that to try and get a chest like him. So that's the thing. I still have to pay attention to the way my body responded to everything. And that's the same thing that you should do also. And then last, be original in creating yourself. Don't try to be like somebody else. Understand, there's different programs, different things. Try different things out. Figure out who you want to be, what you want to be like. It's just like me. I've got a muscular body, but I can kick, a 6'4" man in the face easily because I've got flexibility also with the muscle. So I didn't just, like say, look at Lee Haney's weightlifting program and start doing exactly what he did.
Yeah, he was your motivation.
Exactly. But I didn't want to be exactly like Lee Haney. Right. Because Lee Haney probably can't kick a 6'5" man in the head. He probably throw him across the room, but he probably, as if it's in a fight in under 5 seconds. Anything over that, he probably gonna pass out because he's just 100% muscle. So definitely, when you making who you trying to get to your point, figure out you're trying to find who you are instead of trying to be like somebody else. Just like I say, Bruce Lee, I'm a fan of Bruce Lee, but I don't fight like Bruce Lee. You don't see me with my hands down. My hands are up and my head is covered because that's what I needed for the type of fighting I participated in. Mm-hmm. So, you got anything, questions you want to ask?
No, you know what? I was going to ask you something.
Yeah, I seen you write something down.
A couple of things. You said nature first, science second. I mean, do you have some examples that you can give people about nature first before they can turn to, painkillers? Are you talking, when you say nature first, are you saying if you injure yourself, you should ice it first? Or what are you saying when it comes to nature first?
Yes, I'm saying let's say if you injure yourself, go ice, heat, things like that instead of going straight for the medicine cabinet.
Yeah.
Because, tons of people die every year from aspirin. Just the simple use of aspirin. I think I read a statistic before, and it said something like 800,000 people a year die from the use of aspirin. So I just don't want people to get used to using chemicals. Movement, just your knees hurting or something like that, moving it around, getting it moving, getting it massaged, getting it worked on, stuff like that. Nature can actually heal you. Okay. A lot of times, like I said, the human body heals itself. You don't believe me, go scratch yourself with your fingernail to where it bleeds, and then look at it, a week later, and you'll be healed. So you got to understand that your body can do that to a certain level. And like I said, that's a whole nother podcast when I get into training.
Well, a painkiller just tricks you, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, it just takes away the pain. And this is the thing too. Pain's important. Like I said, that's a whole nother podcast. So we're not going there because pain stops you from going too far. So you got to learn how to read pain, and that's what people do. They'll numb themselves to the pain and then go out and destroy it worse. They say, "I'm not healing." Well, you're not healing because you're doing stuff you shouldn't be doing on it because you're high. You don't feel the pain. So. Okay. So is that your example you look for?
Yeah, that was good.
All right, cool. All right, everybody. Well, that's going to end this one today, and I hope everybody got a little good information to help you build yourself. Jermaine Andre Life Fight, and hope to you keep listening to us with Rebecca Beck, my co-host.
Bye.
And we'll see you next time.
For all things Jermaine Andre, get books, get trained. Learn the secrets behind his brawn, his brain, and his edge. Visit JermaineAndre.com. Life Fight with Jermaine Andre is another positive production of RareGem Productions. Thanks for listening.